This is the story of Jahrah, a devoted woman whose life was tragically cut short by an unexpected and terrifying encounter. Living in a remote village on the Indonesian island of Sumatra, Jahrah was known for her hard work and dedication to her family. One day, Jahrah's routine was shattered by an unforeseen and horrific encounter. A massive reticulated python, driven by hunger and the encroachment of its habitat, attacked her in the dense jungle, leading to a tragic and shocking end. So, how did this unforeseen tragedy unfold? Today we'll delve into the harrowing story of Jahrah, a tale that left her community reeling and revealed the stark reality of living close to the wild. Jahrah was a 54-year-old woman from the village of Batara on the Indonesian island of Sumatra. She was a devoted employee and a caring family member. Jahrah dedicated her life to providing for her family, working long hours in rubber plantations. Despite the difficult nature of her work, she remained dedicated to her career and her family, earning a pittance to support them. Jahrah's routine included leaving home before dawn and working in the rubber plantations under the scorching sun. Her job as a tapper required her to make precise diagonal cuts in the rubber tree bark to collect the milky white liquid, which was then processed into rubber. Since the year 2000, Indonesia has lost 18% of its tree cover. Jahrah's earnings were modest, and despite her many years of service, she lacked job security and formal contract. She earned the equivalent of £1.25 per day and earned a monthly salary of only £45 or $55 by working 7 days a week and taking on additional jobs. Her commitment to her work and family was unwavering, but her life was marked by the difficulties and uncertainties that many laborers in her region faced. And Batara is a small village located on the Indonesian island of Sumatra, specifically in the Jambi province. This region is characterized by its stunning natural beauty and rich biodiversity. The village is surrounded by lush, verdant landscapes, including the Barisan Mountains and volcanic peaks that rise dramatically from the evergreen forest. The valleys are filled with tidal rivers and scattered with mangrove swamps, creating a picturesque and serene environment. Jambi province, where Batara is situated, is known for its agricultural productivity. The region produces a variety of crops, including rice, corn, tobacco, palm oil, and rubber. The extensive rubber plantations are a significant part of the local economy, providing employment for many villagers, including Jahrah. These plantations stretch as far as the eye can see, with row upon row of rubber trees that require meticulous care and maintenance. On the 21st of October 2022, Jahrah began her day as she had countless times before. Jahrah left her modest home before dawn that morning, with the world outside still dark. Her path through the dense jungle to the rubber plantation was illuminated only by the faint moonlight. Jahrah had spent decades working in the rubber plantations, enduring long hours in the scorching sun. After Jahrah signed in at the plantation that morning, she got to work. She held her knife firmly against each tree, making diagonal cuts. She focused on her task, waiting for the milky white rubber to start flowing before tying her collection cup underneath and moving to the next tree. She didn't notice the silent predator approaching her. Suddenly, she felt a sharp pain in her back that made her jump forward. In the confusion, she dropped her knife and felt something tightly wrap around her body. To her horror, an at least 16-foot-long snake had coiled itself around her. Its thick, muscular body squeezed tighter and tighter. Jahrah gasped as she was pulled to the ground, struggling to breathe. As the pressure increased, the giant snake had ambushed her in the early morning light, leaving her no chance to fight back. The more she tried to free herself, the tighter the snake squeezed. She desperately tried to wriggle free, losing her sandals as she kicked at the snake. Her headscarf fell silently to the ground. Jahrah felt her lungs about to burst as the snake squeezed so tightly she couldn't breathe. Within a few agonizing minutes, Jahrah was dead. It was a tragedy. She died alone with no one aware of the horror she was suffering. She had worked every day of her adult life to provide for her family, and they were unlikely to receive any compensation for their devastating loss. When Jahrah stopped struggling and her heart ceased to beat, the snake released its grip. It uncoiled itself from around her and slithered toward her head with its unblinking eyes. The snake stretched its elastic ligaments holding the lower jaw of its skull, opening its mouth wider than its own head, wider than Jahrah's head. Then it began consuming her, inch by inch. It enveloped the woman, swallowing her further and further down, working its way over her head, over her shoulders, and down towards her feet. During the day, the snake became severely engorged, as it managed to fit Jahrah's entire body inside its stomach. Reticulated pythons are the longest snakes in the world, typically ranging from 1.5 meters to 6.5 meters, approximately 5 to 25 feet, but there are reports of them exceeding these lengths, such as the one that killed Jahrah. They can weigh up to 75 kilograms, 165 pounds. At the end of the day, when Jahrah didn't return home, her husband became worried. He went out searching for her, following the usual path she took through the undergrowth to the rubber plantation. She hadn't checked out of work that day. Her husband scouted the plantation, walking down the long rows of trees and calling out her name. Then he came across Jahrah's jacket on the ground. Next to it lay her sandals and knife. He picked them up and looked around, calling out again. But the silence was deafening. He knew something terrible must have happened to her. He ran back to the village and called for people to help him search. A group followed him to the rubber plantation. As darkness fell, they continued to look for Jahrah. It was only at 2 a.m. that Jahrah's husband reluctantly gave up searching for the night and returned home. He reported his wife missing to the local police. The next day, Jahrah's husband, along with security officials, joined in the search. He took them to the spot where he found Jahrah's belongings lying on the ground. The search continued. Reports suggested that it wasn't until 2 days later that one of the locals made a shocking discovery. An enormous 5-meter-long snake was lying in the grass, barely able to move due to its grossly bulging body. One of the locals severed its head, killing it instantly. They dragged the snake into a clearing, and a crowd gathered around. Under the order of Police Chief Arifa, someone took out another knife and ran it along the length of the snake's body, cutting it from head to tail. As the snake opened up, Jahrah's body spilled out onto the ground, completely intact. It was a terrifying shock for the onlookers, something that would haunt her family for the rest of their days. To know that a loved one had been completely consumed by a giant snake was the stuff of nightmares. A spokesperson for the village where Jahrah lived said that recently some villagers had spotted an even bigger python in the area. They estimated it to be at least 27 feet long and had tried to capture it, but it managed to escape into the surrounding forest. Naturally, the locals are concerned about such huge snakes living in the forest around their homes. While attacks like these are still rare, they are becoming increasingly common. Though such incidents are rare, this is not the first time someone in Indonesia has been killed and eaten by a python. 2 similar deaths were reported in the country between 2017 and 2018. Pythons swallow their food whole. Their jaws are connected by very flexible ligaments, allowing them to stretch around large prey. According to an expert, pythons usually eat rats and other small animals, but once they grow large enough, they often skip smaller prey because it's not worth the effort for the calories. In essence, they can go as large as their prey goes. This means that as they get bigger, they can consume animals as large as pigs or even cows. Thank you for watching. If you want to know more shocking animal attacks, simply click on the next video. Don't miss out. Hit the subscribe button for more terrifying stories. Until next time, stay safe